Welcome to another edition of Classy Dreads. My name is Scott, and I just wanted to share with you all today my process in actually getting dreadlocks. I've always had a fascination in dreadlocks. I've thought they've been super awesome ever since I was a little kid. I remember seeing Coolio come out in 1995 on stage to sing Gangster's Paradise. His hair is all sticking up. Like, I didn't understand how that worked. I actually went to look that up recently. It turns out they were not dreadlocks, they were braids. But in my mind, that's my first memory of seeing dreadlocks. And of course, as a kid, that amazing movie, Little Rascals, came out. His mom was Whoopi Goldberg in the movie. They both had dreadlocks, and I was like, look at that, those people's hair, it's so awesome. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. You're probably around my same age then. So ever since I was little, I've had this fascination with people with dreadlocks. And as I got into music, as I became a teenager, a ton of bands that I listened to, musicians in those bands had dreadlocks. Most of the time they were just super gnarly looking and crazy. And so even my own perception of dreadlocks was like, those are pretty hardcore and like way too crazy and gnarly for me to do. Like, and I also didn't understand the process of dreadlocking. And so I just thought either you didn't wash your hair, just like everybody else. You don't wash your hair, you don't, obviously comb it or like shape it in any way. You probably have to put like wax in it, which, in my immature mind, I was like wax, this is before the whole organic phenomenon hit and beeswax was a thing. So I'm just thinking like, what kind of wax would you put in your hair? Like, just melt candles to like stiffen your hair together? It'd be so gross. So this is my whole perception growing up, that dreadlocks are just nasty. But then I remember working when I was in my early 20s, and this gentleman came into this really nice restaurant that I was working at, and he had a suit jacket on, and he had dreadlocks, and his dreads were pulled back, and I was like, look at that guy. Like, his hair is amazing, he's dressed really well. Part of me thought he was probably like a professional NFL player, which is possible. And I was like, that guy looks amazing. I was like, I would love to do that one day. So, cut to like 3 years from then, I decided to go for it. And I do my first attempt at dreadlocks. And I have a bunch of friends who come over to help me backcomb my hair, and it is one of the worst experiences of my life. It's so painful. It hurts so bad. They're like putting ice on my head to like soothe my scalp as they're backcombing these dreads in. And then we just use a buttload of products, because at the time on the internet there just was not much information out there as to like, how do you install dreadlocks, what do you use to wash them and clean them and maintain them and make them look good. So I'm just like beeswaxing the crap out of my dreads, and they're like tacky and sticky, and I feel greasy constantly. All the things, even then, even though I didn't understand that you could do it well, even then I was still looking and smelling like what I didn't want to. My hair was chunky and gross and waxy, and I wasn't showering because I felt like this wax would just like seep all over me. It was not a great experience. And then of course another huge part of that is you need a support system around you when you're going to get dreadlocks. You need people who believe in you and people who are on board with what you're doing. The issue at the time was the job I was working with, they were fine with me getting dreadlocks, but they were not supportive. It was a whole Sideshow Bob thing, you know, like that became my nickname immediately because they were just so poofy and stuck out in crazy directions, kind of like Coolio. And it lasted 4 months, and I chopped them, and it was like one of the most relieving things. And of course, everybody who was part of that was just so disappointed and couldn't believe I didn't last long enough and let my dreads mature. And so fast forward 8 years, and my now wife, who happened to be there when I originally put my dreads in, we were not dating at the time, just a good friend who was there to help entertain for the evening, 8 years later says, Scott, if you're gonna do dreadlocks, you're doing it now. Otherwise you will never have them. So I got an ultimatum, and I said, okay, let's do it. So December 31st, New Year's Eve, 3 years ago. So that would have been 2017. Going into 2017, we start doing dreadlocks again. We do a bunch of research, we learn better techniques, we learn better cleaning habits. Thank you, internet, for all that you taught us. And my wife spent 30 hours installing my dreads. And so we'll put pictures up throughout this video of my old dreads, the process of me installing the dreads. I shouldn't say me installing the dreads, my wife installing the dreads, the amount of Lord of the Rings that we watched. Don't hold that against us if you don't like Lord of the Rings, but you have to find long movies when you're putting dreadlocks in. And then the process afterwards of them starting to mature, wearing a hat for almost an entire year so that nobody could see my dreads, because it does take commitment to put dreadlocks in. And I think that's one of the things that people in society don't realize, that if you want dreads that look good, you actually have to wash them regularly, keep them clean, make sure they stay dry, maintain them in such a way, making sure that the dreads aren't binding together at the roots, keeping the roots separated from each other. And so as I continue making these videos, I'm going to share more and more of that process with you guys. Please feel free to put questions in at the bottom of these videos. Hit like on the video, subscribe, hit the little bell so you get notified when I put more videos up, because more and more are coming. We're going to talk about maintenance, deep cleaning, tools that I use, accessories like tams and hats and hair ties, other such things like that. And then of course, don't forget to wear a tie or a nice dress, and keep your dreads classy. Cut. Do you remember the kid's name? But put it out of my mind for about a decade, and cut. That's inaccurate. That's false information.
It is false information.
So, because there's like 3 years later that Whoopi Goldberg was the mother of.
Whoopi.
Yeah, no. I know, but what's the kid's name? Do you remember?
No.
I have it right here.